testosterone, we have a problem.
This is Outside the Manosphere, where two guys grow their bromance,
non-toxic bromance,
their non-toxic bromance, by exploring masculinity, manosphere culture, and joy in the stupidest timeline.
Join us. Welcome to Outside the Manosphere. My name is Carlos.
And I'm Skip.
Our main topic for the day is the myth of the alpha male. But first, what's your news item for the day, Skip?
All right. I think I'm going to go with a little classic Schadenfreude.
Okay.
Taking joy in other people's misfortune.
I had a little bit of that too. Yeah.
Yeah. There's been so many funny things that have happened this week, which we desperately need in these times with war and things like that. But I think J.D. Vance's Turning Point event, where basically it was almost an empty arena.
Oh, yeah.
Hardly anybody showed up. There were more people yelling and booing than there were people that showed up to listen to him. And he's just had, a bang up week, which I think, he told the Pope to be careful talking about theology, which is, I mean, to be fair, it's a credible threat. He did kill the last Pope.
Which is funny. And which is funny for a adult Catholic convert. You know what I mean? Like he didn't grow up Catholic. He willingly converted as an adult. That's funny to me.
And he flailed at the peace talks and he's just been kind of crashing and burning right and left. And it is a beautiful thing because eventually, and Trump has clearly got dementia and on his way out at some point, he's not going to be the guy picking up the throne, which is great. I think I don't want to, be too negative, but a lot of the dumb MAGA people, they're going to lose interest when the shiny object is gone. And that's probably the best case scenario.
That's been my hope is that once, as I've said before, once Trump is no longer mesmerizing people, that this madness is going to kind of evaporate. So
yeah, once the WWF element is gone, I guess WWE element now.
Yeah.
Then people will be like, oh. So what's your news item for the week?
My news item for the week. So both of these are quite dated. I guess we're about a week behind. No, I guess we're at this point we'll be about 2 weeks behind because we've got our interview that we had just posted. But Canada has had some by-elections last week, I believe.
That reminded me of my actual news item, which was Hungary. But
we'll come back to it. We'll come back.
Yeah,
oh, that's a huge one, man. Yeah,
that's a huge one. I feel like a Dumbo.
Yeah, definitely. We'll come right back to it.
Yeah.
So Canada has a majority government now, a majority liberal government. And I'm really happy to see it. I know a lot of people aren't happy about that because not everyone's a liberal. And a coalition government is always healthy, but I really feel like right now Canada's in a position to step it up where the U.S. is sort of declining. And I feel like Mark Carney's actually doing that. And I feel like with a majority government, he'll be able to do that with less roadblocks.
Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, I'm really, I guess I'm pleased. I'm pleased to see it because I vote liberal anyway. I wouldn't mind voting NDP, which is even further left to them, but they kind of collapsed in the last election and they're not really a viable option.
Yeah,
and I think one of the reasons they were able to get liberal government is because so many conservatives have crossed the aisle and switched to liberals, and even one of the NDP, which is the more progressive side, switched to the liberals as well. So a lot of people are switching, and then they picked up 3 kind of expected seats anyway during these elections. So, I mean, it was a solid lead, and it's just I'm hopeful. It's best case scenario I think for the whole country, whether you're a liberal or not. I think it's a good time for there to be a majority government, even if it's conservative. That'd be fine too. It's just right now there needs to be unification over petty politics, and it just couldn't have come at a better time.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the one nice thing about having these things going on in the US where it's so clear if you're not inside the cancer cell that it's cancer. All these other things in other places in the world there are places that are still pushing more authoritarian, but there's a lot of places that are starting to finally push back the other way. Like Canada clearly just had a moment. But more importantly, Hungary had a huge moment over the last few weekends where Viktor Orban is out of power, and he was basically the model for Trump. I mean, he was the architect that they were looking for. And to see that fail, I think, is going to resonate through the right, and it certainly is going to energize the left. And that's something that's genuinely positive. So
I can't believe it.
Yeah.
I'm still in shock that he lost. I can't believe that he lost, and I can't believe that he conceded. Also, it's just
right.
I mean, it's like a part of my identity is lost right now with this whole. I didn't expect either one of those things. Both of them happened, and now I'm like, well, what do I do with myself? This what I thought to be true is not true. Yeah, I mean, it's wonderful. I'm really glad that it happened. It was just so unexpected that I'm still processing it.
And not to get too excited and elated about it, because the guy that's taking over is still far right,
Right.
Legit far right instead of fascist. And that is, while still not objectively awesome for Hungary, way more objectively awesome than it was,
and better for the EU.
We can celebrate that for sure. Better for Ukraine, better for the EU. It's going to have a lot of knock-on effects that are really fantastic. So congratulations, Hungarian people, my ancestors, some of you, and
you did it.
Good times. Yeah.
All right, Skip. Well, our red flag for the day is hyper-competitiveness and the need to dominate. Have you known or have you been a character that expresses any of those characteristics?
Yes, I have known and been that person. My hyper competitiveness has been selective, though. I will say that. When I was a wrestler, I was never guys would go in and they'd be super aggressive and to where I'd known guys that would get all psyched up and angry at the person that they were wrestling. And I was always like, I don't even know this guy, man. I don't have a lot riding on this. I want to have fun. I'd like to win, but I never got psyched up. It was just kind of this is a fun game. Whereas in other things like board games, and I still sometimes have issues with this, I definitely want to win. I'm going full bore. And I think I've gotten rid of this. So it still comes out in bad ways when I'm I watch the other people, because we play these really complicated board games, and it's quite easy to cheat. And we've had some cheaters in our family. So so I definitely pay attention, and I get a little flustered about rules violations and things at times. But I'm okay with losing now, which is important. But I definitely in the midst of it, I definitely want to do things the best that I can, and definitely want things to, done on the up and up. And if we're playing a cooperative game, it's really hard to sometimes the kids want to do something and they're you want to let them make decisions, but sometimes the decisions are so bad. And you're just oh God, all right, I just gotta eat it. And I'm trying to learn to get better at that. But definitely not a domination thing. It's more of just it's still a problem. It's
I get it. I feel like that's dominating kids in say a cooperative game, like you were saying. I feel like that's different than dominating an adult in a cooperative game, because with kids, they're not thinking necessarily the most strategically that they could be, because they're kids, and you want to kind of point out hey, you could be doing it this way. Whereas we played that Thanos game that you guys sent us, Jody and I. That's a cooperative game, and it's so much fun, but Jody and I have had arguments over me wanting her to move a certain way, so that we can win the game. You know what I mean? It's and that's an adult that I'm dominating in a cooperative game. So But I wanted to ask you, so wrestling aside, because you said that you want to have fun and enjoy the competition. What's your motivation for dominating for wanting to win so bad in a board game?
Well, so I think part of it is for a long time, I was just really good at board games.
Mm-hmm.
And I usually won. And there's just something of an identity element to it, where when I was younger and I got to Prague, we'd play Risk relatively frequently.
Oh, dude, I missed the Risk era with you guys, because I love fucking Risk, and Jody never wants to play with me.
Yeah, but I and it was before I got married and stuff, and it was with when I was younger here the first time, and we played, and we got I got a general's helmet. And you got to wear the general helmet if you'd won the previous time and put your name in it, and you got to order people around and stuff,
Oh,
which
that's so funny,
nobody
dude.
ever really did. But like I won like 50 times and other people had won like 4. To the point where they just team up on me, and it was kind of like a, a thing. And so like I think as I've gotten older and I've also found people that are like really good players, and my mental capacity is slightly diminished. I can't quite focus on a billion things like I used to in the same way. Yeah, it's just like I think trying to hold on to that. But I'm way better now about just like enjoying it and being totally cool losing as long as I'm having fun. But I do get like I don't know if it's even hyper competitive. I'm hyper into the game, which sometimes can go a little too far. But I don't know how to pull back from being so into the games.
You know what, dude? When you describing yourself wearing a general's helmet playing Risk, one, that is like one of the most amazing things I've heard about you ever. But two, that would either really cement our friendship or it would have ended our friendship because Jody and I, we used to play Risk in Prague with a friend of ours, and we would like take pictures of the board. We'd play for hours and hours and hours, take pictures of the board, wait for the next weekend, reset up the board as we had it, and just continue. That would go on for weekends at a time. And yeah, like whenever I'd get teamed up on is when I'd get pissed off and like there'd be arguments and like no fair sort of thing. And like, yeah, I can imagine there would be like some like legit arguments between us playing that game. But it was a fun game, man. It's one of my favorite games ever. But yeah, you wearing a general's helmet, dude. That's like chef's kiss. That's so funny to me.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, no, but this is like in other people, I've definitely witnessed this, and it's not health. The need to dominate is really unhealthy, I think.
Yeah, I know, I agree.
Especially when we're talking about games, the whole purpose of it, unless you're in the NBA or something, is to have fun. Just like chill out and have fun, and like being okay with losing. Like people that get like really upset when they're losing, really upset. Like that's just kid stuff, man. That feels like playing with like a little kid. And our kids are really good because we've played complicated games since like for them, it was just a win to understand how to play the game. And there was no way we could even conspire to make them win because they were so young at that like they were having fun playing. And then the side effect of that though is the flip side, which is our kids are totally okay losing. And Jess and I would like them sometimes to be a little bit more competitive. They're very much there to have fun.
And that's their motivation.
Things, which is great. Yeah.
So fun is their motivation. Yeah, well, that's healthy, man. Like, I wonder how that compares with other kids their age and or that generation. Because I'm like you, dude. Like, there were times where we'd be playing insert any board game, and it doesn't matter how long the game lasts. I'd be standing the whole time, and not just standing, like hovering over the board.
Yeah,
like I could never. And having fun, like it was enjoyable, but like my feet would hurt by the end of the night because I'm just like standing the whole game. So, yeah, that definitely wasn't healthy, and I could lose and be just fine with it. But as you said, like what really took a minute for me to grasp is like Monopoly is a good one because Monopoly, you get like that starts fights. There's even a Simpsons joke about that, like another Monopoly fueled incident of
carnage or something.
Yeah, home domestic violence or something like that. But yeah, like now when I play Monopoly, it's usually just Jody and I because we're a sad pair, but we'll play Monopoly together. And when I force her because she doesn't always want to play, but like I won't hold my properties if no one has a monopoly, and that one person gaining a monopoly will probably tip the scales and make the game win. Like I'll sell a property if that means the game's going to move forward. I see. I'm gonna handicap myself, but who cares? Like this game's going to get boring if we're just.
We got to move it forward.
Yeah. And I wouldn't have done that before because I wanted to win so badly. So yeah, I'm like you. I'm the same boat. So what makes it toxic though? I guess like.
Well, I mean, one of the things that I see this moving towards is like, we're talking about games especially, but like when you're dominating in a game, like it just makes it not fun. It makes it much more about personalities than about having fun. But when you take it out into the real world with other things like an argument, and I definitely, when I was younger, I fancied myself quite the debater and I wanted to win. I wanted to win arguments, but like that's not the point of an argument most of the
Right.
time.
Right.
The point of an argument is usually to come to a solution or something that's amicable to both sides. Whereas just like being focused specifically on destroying the other person, it's not pleasant, you know? And like, I will differentiate between like, you know, things around the house and like, I don't know, human rights. That's something that you probably should go to the wall for. But like, you know, if it's like where we're going to keep the soap dish, like just chill out. It's not that
Yeah.
big of a deal.
Right. So like a characteristic that I'm noting here that I really hadn't considered is you got to win, like you said, you got to win every argument,
Yeah.
which is absolutely would consider that a competitive thing. I really hadn't given it much thought. Interrupting constantly. What do you think about that? That's just kind of a manifestation of wanting to win all the time.
Yeah, and it's something that men do a lot more than
Yeah.
women. And men do it to each other, but men especially do it to women. And it's actually one of the things, if I'm going to do my red flag, my personal red flag, it's
Yeah.
something that I watch for in conversations. And when I do it, because, you know, there's times where you just want to say something or you get excited. And when I do it, I always immediately, even as I'm continuing the conversation, I'll either apologize or I'm just kicking myself as my mouth is like brainlessly going on. I'm just like, what an asshole. I just interrupted this lady. Cause it's something that, you know, even if you don't notice as a man, women are used to it. And in a lot of cases, they don't display anything outwardly because they're so used to it. But like it is something that a lot of women kind of note.
Right.
And it's something that I note in certain people. If I see them interrupting a woman again and again and again, I'm like, oh, because it's a way of saying like what you're saying doesn't matter. The thing that is most important is the thing that I have to say. And and so yeah, I think I try not to, and we interrupt each other. We interrupt each other here and there, but like I think there's a certain amount of fair conversational interrupting. You're trying to minimize it, but like accidental things as opposed to like really just bullying your way forward. Yeah,
I
I
had
don't know
told
what.
you. Well, I was going to give you an example. I had told you some time ago. I don't think we recorded it. You and I and Jody and Jess were leaving some Marvel movie at a movie theater, and Jess was in the middle of like saying which one was her favorite character, and I just like cut her off completely, and I was like, actually, this one's the better one, blah blah, and I just like stomped on her opinion. It wasn't even it was nothing
Yeah.
factual whatsoever. I'm like, this one's the better character because of this, and she just I heard myself doing it, and I saw her in real time just stop talking and process me interrupting her. And she never said anything.
Yeah.
She didn't look pissed or anything, but she just like, I saw her processing me interrupting her with my own stupid opinion. Yeah. Left an impression on me, and I still think about it from time to time.
No, and that's kind of exactly the illustration of what I'm talking about, where
Yeah.
like I even like she's your friend, she knows that you're not a bad guy, but there's still these little things that and I grew up with that we're trying to like weed out, where we've been told by society it's okay to just interrupt women.
Right.
You know? Yeah. So I think interrupting constantly is definitely a red flag, but especially when you interrupt women disproportionately, it's like another second red flag because it tells me yet another, like I already didn't like that you interrupted it, not you, but I already won't like it if you interrupt people constantly. But if on top of that, you mostly interrupt women, it tells me another kind of gross thing about
There's
you.
another layer. Yeah. Well, and all this, I think, kind of circles around the fact that I think if you need to be the center, if you need to win everything, then you just have a kind of a frail and fragile ego underneath it all. And I think that ultimately is the red flag. If you don't have confidence in yourself, you're going to express that as the need to show everyone how awesome you are by winning everything. And I kind of feel like that's a young man's sort of flaw. But I mean, there's plenty of. I mean, you look at the guy in the Oval Office, kind of doing that exact thing in his late stage in life. So, I mean, that it's not just young people, but yeah, I feel like that was, for me anyway, that was a young person's thing. I feel like I've cooled off, and I don't need to like brag and show everyone how awesome I am now.
Oh yeah, and this will dovetail nicely with our discussion about alpha males, but you know, this is something that I actually carry into like movies and stories is anytime a character is like demonstrably being so badass, it's like, oh, this is not a real badass. Like I think of like, and I'm trying to think of a good example of this, but just like a character that walks into a room and just like, it's just mean and cruel, or does like, or starts a fight with somebody, or like has like, I don't know, all these weapons, and they're just showing you, oh my God, this person's so badass. They're never going to be as tough as like a Clint Eastwood character that just quietly sits there.
Yeah.
Like never, because real badasses don't flex. They just sit there quietly, and then when it's time to do something, they just do that fucking thing. They don't run their mouth. They don't flex. They don't trash talk. They don't like do all these ridiculous displays or have like a big car that's loud. It's just like, no, if you're a badass, you're a badass, and you're comfortable with that you're a badass. You don't need to like tell everybody that you're a badass. So
Case in point, before we round out this red flag, the majority of times we would play Risk, Jody would win. And Jody, I'd be the loudest motherfucker in the room, complaining, shouting, arguing, razzing, and she would just be sitting there quietly strategizing.
Yep.
And she'd be playing this slow game, and by the end of the game, she's dominated the world, and I'm kneeling before her army. So there you go. So your petty red flag, what was that again? You said
my petty red flag is, and I don't even know if it's petty, but men that interrupt women.
Okay, sure. Yeah. I wouldn't call that petty, but I'd say
it's not petty. It's just another red flag.
Sure. What was mine?
I don't know. What was yours?
Oh, so okay, mine is petty. It's if your guy, or not your guy, if the man that we're examining here, and again, this is petty, if their favorite genre of movie is action. I don't know.
All right.
That just seems like a really surface level interest in any kind of artistic I don't know, endeavor. If action is your favorite thing, if you're a Fast and the Furious like junkie,
Sure.
I feel like that's a red flag.
Well, especially for me, I'm gonna say I don't know about all action, but definitely Fast and the Furious.
I haven't seen it. To be fair, I haven't seen any of them, but they kind of represent what I imagine is the guy I'm talking about. So if you have a petty red flag, email us, post it on Facebook, post it on Instagram, and we'll have a look at it. We'll examine it.
So regularly we dive into subjects from the Manosphere, and all of those things tend to kind of orbit around this idea of the alpha male that's promoted there. So we decided to look into the myth of the alpha male.
Myth?
And the myth.
Myth?
Yeah, myth. Because the Manosphere thinks that the alpha male is one thing, but historically, scientifically, that's just not that. When we think of alpha males, like from the Manosphere, these jacked bros with like fast cars and lots of chicks, and I don't know why they're surfers in this analogy, but yeah, like they're just dominating women and men and all kinds of things. And what do you think about that whole thing just by itself, without getting into like the actuality of what an alpha male really was supposed to be?
Well, so I guess when I think of alpha males, I've never really thought of them as the jacked bros. I mean, yeah, that's part of it, but I also think of like these like high functioning CEOs and stuff as like alphas. That's kind of the stereotype I've always associated them with as well. And I feel like that's always been sort of a toxic model that I'd say a lot of Western guys are aspiring for. You know what I mean? Like you want the money, you want the good looks, you want the women's attention, and I don't know. I think it's a ridiculous. It's almost like the American dream. Like everyone's chasing sort of this almost unattainable thing.
Well, and there's a couple other things. Like one, the alpha male implies the beta, and it's really indicative of this Manosphere view of a zero-sum world where you win because someone else loses. And it's a very simple kind of one-dimensional world about dominance and submissiveness and things like that. And the world's just like realistically a much more complicated place as we looked at. But I think the funniest thing to me about like this alpha male and the Manosphere, and this is a little off topic, but it is like all this stuff came from, incels that were obsessed with a now 30-year-old science fiction movie, The Matrix, which does not scream cool. Like, like the whole manosphere talking about the red pill and the blue pill, referencing a 25, 30-year-old movie where people for a while played dress up in all their leather, and none of them looked cool. None of them looked cool. As cool as they thought they looked at the time, it was definitely a big red flag that you were a dork.
And for the record, I never thought they looked cool even back then.
Yeah, it was definitely very much dress up. So, like, the whole idea of this is just kind of funny from the beginning, like that these guys came up with this idea of the alpha male. But the real alpha male, like where this term is taken from, is from chimpanzee politics.
Right. And wolf
Yeah.
politics as well, from what I
Yeah.
understand.
But it's literally from a book called Chimpanzee Politics.
Oh, no
but
kidding.
yeah,
I didn't know
but
that.
you're right. There was another separate study about wolves in zoos, which is not their natural habitat.
Right.
And that's very important to the misunderstanding of things as well. So, and then I think Newt Gingrich got a hold of it and started like referencing alpha male, and then, the dum-dums in the manosphere, the nascent manosphere took it and like said, "Oh, I like this. I like this idea." But
I think they kind of saddled that onto
Yeah.
behaviors that were already present. And I have an example that I want to forget later on, but go on.
all right. But the real deal with alpha males, if we want to reclaim that, is that the alpha male, it's not the biggest, strongest one. And a lot of times what it is it's like a parental figure. It's a leader that's
Mhm.
not leading through dominance and not leading through aggression, but leading through what's best for the entire group and manicuring relationships so that they're healthy and there isn't all that aggression. Because if you look at nature over and over and over again, the way that things evolve and the way that things run is to not expend a bunch of stupid energy on things, because it ruins your chances for survival. You want to optimize for survival and for passing your genes forward and things like that, and wasting a bunch of energy and getting hurt in battle with your own troop over and over again is really a stupid plan that doesn't work. So like the people that are not the people, but the chimpanzees and the wolves and the things that tend to actually be alphas in nature are not necessarily the biggest, strongest ones. And in fact, in one of the things we were reading this week, if you had one really strong one and two pretty strong ones, they would team up against that one and kill it, because there was a power imbalance. And it was more about the smooth running of society and optimizing things so that there was
Right.
less violence and less tumult.
Mhm,
And that's what it was about. It was about not dominance, but, for lack of a better word, politics.
Sure. I think of, I don't know if it was This American Life or Radio Lab or something I was listening to once, when they did a study on these baboons that were like feeding off of a dump. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
There was some
But it
trash
sounds
heap.
familiar.
There was some trash heap that these wild baboons were like just kind of lurking around. And the crux of it all was that they were extremely aggressive. And when they removed, for whatever, or the males all died off for some reason, or they removed them somehow, and they went from being this ultra aggressive like pack for, I don't know what they call groups of baboons, into this egalitarian commune of baboons where they just removed the alphas, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And it was a completely restructured society, and they were peaceful. So bringing it back to a dumb example of what we thought alpha maleism was. I remember being about 18 years old, 19 years old, and I was working overnights. And, at that age, you're still kind of developing your sense of self and ego and all that stuff. But anyway, there was a new guy he started, and he when you're new to a job, you kind of you should be quiet anyway and just kind of work your way in and ingratiate yourself with people who are already there. Well, this guy came in with all the bluster you can imagine. And he was about my age and was loud and confident, and he commanded everyone's attention, and all the girls were, batting their eyes at him. And I remember just sitting there at lunch and be like, shut the fuck up. In my head, I wasn't confronting him or anything, but I was like, dude, shut up. And what that ended up with for me was me thinking, you know what, why am I feeling this way? I'm feeling this way because this guy is confident. He's calling all the girls' attention, which is what it was. He was the girls were interested in him.
Right.
And I'm like, and for what? Like nothing's coming out of his mouth but like bluster, but sound and fury. And I'm like, this guy's a fool. And I couldn't figure out why it pissed me off so much, other than like, well, he's calling all the attention. And I understand now is that I think everybody there was kind of looking at him as like, oh, look at his confidence. Look, he's moved right in, and he's in charge of everything now, and like he's like the top dog. And I saw it then, but I just couldn't put it into words that he's just a loudmouth. He wasn't saying anything of importance. He was just being annoying. He was inserting himself, and he was super obnoxious. But that was viewed as alpha. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's if there were a couple more of us betas, quote unquote betas, we might have pounced on him. I don't know, but like, yeah, I don't even know why I brought that up, other than like that was one of the reading this article, the myth of the alpha male. That was one of the first examples that just popped in my head that I've just carried with me. This fucking guy that is renting space in my mind for free after all after 25 years.
He mind-mogged you.
He did mind-mog me, yeah.
It's funny, though, because you were talking about how loud he was.
Mm-hmm.
And I have, over my many, many years, I haven't gotten a lot of things, but one thing that I've kind of figured out, which is just, and it's not 100%, but it's a general metric for myself, is like, being quiet doesn't mean you're smart. But being loud almost certainly means you're dumb. That's what I've come after all these years, after nearly closing in on 50 years here.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've come down to, is like being quiet doesn't necessarily mean you're smart, but being very loud, almost 100%. I'm like, oh, that's a dumb. Like, but it does what you're talking about with the confidence and stuff. That does bring us back to what alpha males were all about originally, and what the manosphere was all about, and incels were all about. It was all about sex.
Yep.
And there have been studies on what's attractive, and we have the results of those studies. And it's not being dominant.
Right.
Like, there are dominant qualities, but this is kind of that the manosphere takes that 1D. Like, they've got that one thing, a dominant or submissive, but it's like way more complicated than that, guys. There's so many different like dimensions to people. And like, if you're just going by dominant or submissive, women don't really like either one of those things.
Well, hold on, because one thing I took from this article that we were reading that I found tragically interesting is that I don't have the number here, but it's something like 96% or maybe like 76, some massive number of women found dominating, because it was a study where they took the same scenario of like a tennis player, and him being like a novice player, but playing with aggression and domination and will and unwillingness to give up in the face of a greater player, versus somebody who was just kind of enjoying the game and not doing that great, but and deferring whenever they were losing to this better player. Sexually, which is where this is so important, not just in the manosphere, just for gender, women found the dominating guy more attractive, and I think that's the problem. That's right there. It's the animal in us that's where we're striving for. Well, go ahead. What were you going to say?
But that is that false narrative that puts the world into alphas and betas, because when they put in a control condition, which was you had that dominating male and you had the non-dominating male, and then they did a description of just like a normal guy that had no dominating or everybody wanted that one. They wanted the guy that wasn't dominant and that wasn't submissive, because both of the other ones were pretty unattractive. And the world isn't split into like that.
Well, the thing is, though, when you hold up the resume of the non-dominant guy, you're like, yeah, that guy's way fucking better. But when you're at a bar and you're making conversation with a dominating, charming guy, that's who you're going to fuck at the end of the night. You know what I mean? Like that's that's the whole point of the manosphere. You know what I mean? They're like, let me show you how to be like me. You know what I mean? And that's why it's so attractive for all these fucking idiots that are like, well, I can do that too. You know what I mean? Or that's what I want to do. Yeah, man, sex is a powerful motivator for most men, I think.
It is, but I think that what you find is like these guys, they're sort of like a false reporting to the manosphere, right? Because these guys aren't going to show you the hundreds of times they got turned down.
Well, that doesn't matter though.
but it's all part of this social media image, right?
Yeah,
Whereas
sure.
like in actual life, okay, yeah, if you're gonna go like maybe sleep with somebody from a bar, which happens occasionally, but like a lot more times you meet somebody and you talk to them and you're friends or you're friends of friends, or you decide to go out on a date. And like when actual personality comes into this, and it's not just, you know, I want to bump our ugly bits together for a while and never see you again. Like there's other things that people are attracted to and that they want. They don't want men that are dominant. They do want men that are confident and assertive.
Mm.
But it's really about confidence. And this is something that I also noticed, growing up, and it was very helpful having girlfriends. So I can understand how an incel wouldn't get this. But it was very helpful having girlfriends and friends that were like open and communicative, because they tell you when you did something sexy. I started realizing, it's not necessarily about like lifting the heaviest thing or looking a certain way. When I did something that I was particularly good at,
Uh-huh.
it was attractive. And it was about that confidence. It was about skill. It was about competence and like being able to do things, to be successful. That's what women were attracted to, or at least the sense of confidence and things like that. And they also want you to be easygoing and sensitive.
Right.
But yeah, like those are skills that are a little bit more subtle, that take a little bit more time. But yeah, if somebody's going to just make a shock judgment, it's going to be towards somebody that's confident, but that doesn't necessarily mean dominant. It just means they're confident. And it's something that I've always looked for in my friends as well. It's like people that are genuine, and I take genuineness as like, I'm confident being myself.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like, if you and I were playing a board game together and we're both being dominating, like it's gonna be a clash, like 100%. You know what I mean? And even with somebody who's not dominating, like Jody, it was a clash because I'd be overbearing. I wouldn't just be dominating. I'd be too much. But anyway, I wanted to underline what you said, because I think overall confidence is where true alpha comes in. If there's going to be an alpha, and it's not a display of confidence, it's actual confidence. So when you were saying competence, yes, but I think you can be confidently incompetent. And let me get there. Let me get there. It took me a long time to admit when I didn't know stuff. You know what I mean? Because I wanted to be the smartest guy in the room, right? But I think there's something attractive, and I feel like that's been qualified in my life when I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I have absolutely no idea how that works. Show me. You know what I mean? Like, that takes a certain amount of confidence to admit I don't know anything about that. Like, yeah, just let me sit down. Lead me there. You know what I mean? I think if you can confidently do that and show that you're not embarrassed that you don't know something, but you're willing to learn it and you're willing to listen to the other person, whether it's a man or a woman, to me, that's absolutely an amazing display of confidence. You don't need to know everything. You don't need to be a master at some craft to impress another person. You just have to be confident in yourself and confident that you don't know everything and you don't need to know everything. And that took me a long time to get there. But I think underlying this whole thing is which is why I'm an alpha is where I'm getting at today. Underlying everything is confidence. If you can just be confident in yourself, I think that goes a really, really long way.
It goes back to that, like, you don't want to fall prey to that 1D world. You don't want to fall prey to thinking about just this one thing is going to be the silver bullet, because you get back to Goodhart's law, which I love, which is like, if your goal is to have relationships with women, then don't make your goal just to be confident, because you will just you'll pretend to be confident in all kinds of things that you shouldn't.
You're right.
And it's like the goal isn't confidence. You want to be confident, you want to be confident in things, but part of being confident, like you said, is saying when you don't know things. And that also activates something else that people like, which is when you're like, I don't know anything about that. Tell me about that. They get to talk about things that they're interested in. People love that shit.
Yeah.
Like, be interested in people. That's part of the fucking thing, man. You can't just be like confident and like self-involved, because that's not very interesting. I remember a buddy of mine telling me a story. He had gone to see some friend of his that lived in LA, and it's not super important that they lived in LA, but it kind of fits. where he was like having dinner with them and they just talked and talked and talked about themselves and literally said, well, I have to eat my salad now, so you can talk about you. And it's just like, oh, that's a fundamental misconnect on like what people are, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, yes, confidence is important. Competence, I think, is also something that's very attractive. It doesn't
Sure.
mean that you have to be competent and confident at everything, but easygoing and sensitive. The interesting, like zero, when they did these studies, 0% of women wanted somebody that was demanding. 0% wanted somebody that was submissive. So like, fair enough. You don't want somebody that's completely submissive, but that, again, it's not like there's only two choices. It's not like you have to be an asshole or like this squidgy baby that gets poked with sticks. Like there are things between those two things, right?
Right. Well, and I think a really good example, going back to the documentary Inside the Manosphere, I mean, if we're going to show, and I said this before, but if we're going to show like an alpha, Louis Theroux is, I mean, alpha to the bone, because that guy just didn't flinch. I mean, he was completely unbothered by these clowns that were coming at him. And I was just endlessly impressed by his demeanor in the entire thing. And of course he was editing it it's his documentary,
Sure.
but like in the moment you can see he's unfazed. They're insulting him and he's like, oh yeah, okay, let's explore that a little bit. Or he'll put when he would push back. Yeah. What a guy.
Well, I'm going to go back to the harbinger of many red flags, but also, also in this case, something good. Roadhouse. You know, one of the things that he says, he starts off the movies telling Patrick Swayze, of course, your crush, and he's at the beginning of the movie telling the bouncers what the rules are, and he's like, "You're going to be nice." And he's like, one of the guys is like, what if a guy calls my mom a whore? And he's like, is she? And and it's just like, it's all about like that same thing. Like the character Patrick Swayze is clearly by all measures, no matter whether it's Manosphere or others, some kind of alpha male. Also extremely toxic in many ways, but clearly an alpha male, but he didn't need to like puff up and do this display. He was what I was talking about earlier with the Clint Eastwood thing. Like he knew he was a badass. He didn't need to like fight because somebody said something that wasn't true. He's like, that's not true. Good day to you, sir. Yeah. So like, I think a couple things from this article that like were key takeaways for me. One, the most attractive thing was the combination of kindness and assertiveness.
Mm-hmm.
So like being kind, but also sticking up for yourself and saying things when you need to. That was found to be the most attractive. And that's not something that's about dominance or submission. That's just about like being a good person. Mm-hmm. So these studies, while they're kind of set up originally to be dominance versus submissiveness, I think there's other dimensions that are clearly at play here. And the other quote that I thought was great, which was they were talking about men who dominate others because of leadership qualities and other superior abilities, and who therefore are able to and willing to provide for their families, quite possibly will be preferred to potential partners who lack these attributes. But again, it comes down to leadership, and it comes down to providing for your community. And these are the kinds of things that are important. Is like taking care. It's about taking care of the people around you and doing things for the best rather than just like mogging, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, showboating, essentially. Yeah. Can you think of any alpha quote unquote alpha males in your sphere right now or recent sphere?
No, man, I stay away from those guys.
Yeah.
I think it's just like, it's never been, I grew up around women and I've never thought that was an attractive personality trait.
Yeah. And it's funny, dude, like if you're not one of these toxic, quote unquote alpha guys, you hear what women think about those guys.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
because they'll tell you they're like, oh yeah, that fucking guy, or they just the distaste in their face and then their tone
Mm-hmm.
when they're talking about them, like they don't like you. If you're aspiring to be one of these Manosphere guys, you're disliked. They don't like that. They don't want that, and it's quite interesting to see how women talk about those guys when they're comfortable around a man that they don't perceive as that.
Yeah, and if you're having trouble, like if you are perceiving yourself possibly as like an incel, practice two things. Practice because it's hard to just like be like, I'm gonna be confident now. But you can practice kindness and practice assertiveness. And that doesn't mean like being a jerk. It just means like being able to practice talking and speaking for yourself. And, even if it's something as simple, and again, with kindness, be nice. Like if somebody gets your order wrong, saying, you know what, my order's wrong. Would you mind like fixing this? And like that is both kind and assertive in some cases. And sometimes it's not worth it. But I'm saying like practice those little bits of assertiveness so that you're comfortable like being yourself, but being a nice version of yourself, being a kind version of yourself. And that will attract people.
Well, and you can like if you have an opinion on something, it doesn't
Yeah.
even need to be something. I mean, something simple like ordering, yes, but like politics, for example, you can assertively disagree and do so with kindness without starting an argument, without starting a fight, without creating tension. You can just I've had that fucking all over New Brunswick because I disagree with a lot of the perspective here, and I never disrespect the people here, even when they're being fucking racist or just shitty. It's like, well, I approach it with kindness and assertiveness, and I don't submit to that viewpoint, but I let my opinion be known without being ugly about it.
Unless they're a Nazi, and in that case, always punch a Nazi. That's
always punch a Nazi. Yeah, they got to be wearing the uniform.
Yeah. Follow Indiana Jones's lead and always punch a Nazi. Yeah, that's my sign up.
All right, Skip. Well, as always, we're at the joy part of the week. So I'd like to know what's bringing you joy this week.
Yeah, as I was saying before the show to you privately, there's some long processes that have just kind of come to an end and are like clearing the cognitive load that I've been carrying around from day to day. So my wife went through her citizenship ceremony and that's done. Like there's a little tiny bit of paperwork done left. My son's adoption is like complete in the US finally, which is a big deal because that was shaping up to potentially be a big fight. And they kind of just like inexplicably rolled over and we're like, okay, it's good. And he also finished his matriculation exam. So just like a huge unburdening that makes me feel real light and lovely right now.
Yeah, when you were describing it earlier, it made me feel unburdened as well. Like it was nice. It was nice to see that weight off of you.
Yeah, it's just like things that sometimes are months, if not years in the making, finishing up, and multiple things at once. Just it's really nice. And a couple other things I've been really enjoying. I really enjoyed the Artemis mission, which was NASA going around the moon, astronauts going further away from Earth than has ever, more than 250,000 miles from Earth, the farthest people have ever been, which I just think is cool. Like I grew up in the 80s with, parents that for better or worse, you grew up being told you could be anything. You could be anything, which maybe set up some false expectations and gave people a lot of ennui and depression later on in life when they were baristas and things. But like one of the things that they would always be like president or astronaut. And for like 50 fucking years, nobody's been able to be an astronaut because we didn't have those. And I know that there's a lot of things that we could put our money towards, but we got plenty of money for this. We could take the money from elsewhere. This is such a cool, inspiring thing to me. And I loved just kind of following some of the things, even about the toilet not working. Lots of just kind of pure joy at seeing what humans can do when they put their mind to something that's not fucking shitty.
Yeah.
So, that was great. And the other thing that I really liked this week was I came upon an article about green flags for men. And that was kind of like a little light bulb. And I was like, oh, green flags. I like this. I like this. And the green flag for this, for dating, and this goes very nicely with the manosphere, is Luddite men. Not truly Luddite men, but men that aren't on social media, which is where they get poisoned, and just like live in their real life, which largely describes the way I live my life.
Nice.
Not that I'm, like I'm not out on the dating scene. I don't need to be having green flags for dating, but like it just feels like a good not only the idea of good green flags is awesome, but it also feels like a good thing to just be putting out there positive things in the world about being off of social media and how that's an attractive thing. Because, it's just healthy and nice and I like it. And that's it. Those are my joys.
I do too, man. It's a nice, well, twofold. It's a nice reminder that I need to I'm not positive, but I need to like keep my perspective. Because when you said green flags, I'm like, oh yeah, we were doing a whole season on red flags.
Right. Yeah.
That's the opposite of what I want. But yeah, it's a nice reminder that I need to keep my perspective positive.
We could throw in some green flags. Send us some green flags, people.
Yeah. I want to see some green flags. What's been working for you guys?
How about you?
Well, my most immediate joy is I've got a bunch of them, but I've been sick for a week, and boy, I mean, you talk about a man cold. It was as manly as you can get.
Took you down.
It took me down, and I went back to work. I had 2 night shifts in a row, and both times I'm like, why am I here? I should not be back at work yet. And man, it was rough. And I just got the carriage home with the wheels coming off. And today's my first day where I'm completely off, and I'm so happy and I feel a lot better. And yeah, I'm looking forward to just being normal again. So that's one little just physical joy.
I'm glad you're feeling better, man.
Thank you. I also, I started rereading just kind of impulsively. I started rereading All the Pretty Horses by Cormac McCarthy. Have you ever read that?
I have not.
So I know you had started reading Blood Meridian, which is really,
I read it.
really. Oh, did you?
Yeah, okay, I read that, and I read The Road.
Okay, yeah, it's 2 very different books.
Very, very different. It's almost inconceivable they were written by the same person.
Yeah. Well, kind of in the middle between those two is it's called the Border Trilogy, and All the Pretty Horses is the first one. And dude, I just for a while I've been like, I guess I'm just not into fiction anymore, and I'm just not. I guess I won't be reading fiction anymore. And I've already read the Border Trilogy, and it's been, I don't know, over a decade. And I just kind of impulsively bought a digital copy, and I've been reading it on my Kindle, and I fucking love it, man. It's delicious. I mean, I love it. I don't know any other way to describe it. It is so much fun, and it's a Western, and it's so good. It's so good. It's so good, Skip. I highly recommend it.
All right.
And that's all I've got. It's bringing me great joy reading that. And lastly, my last night shift was with a partner who has a paramedic student, and I've worked with him a couple times, and I was looking forward to it because I like the kid. He's probably 21, 22. Yeah, and it just reminded me how much I enjoy teaching. And I mean, I'm not far off from graduating myself, but like I was certainly the more experienced person, with him. And I really enjoy it, man. And being able to answer his questions and to see him sort of work through problems and reminding myself of where I was when I was first starting too, and how far I've come. It was just it's a really joyful experience. And I mean, he's going to graduate at some point, so I won't be seeing him other than when he's a paramedic. But yeah, I hope to have more of those sort of student experiences because. It's been on my radar since before I even graduated that I might go into teaching at some point because it is a physically demanding job. It's a mentally demanding job, and teaching is something I'm good at and I've always enjoyed. So this is just kind of validating and just a reminder of that sort of progression that I was leaning toward at some point. So yeah, those 2 things for me they were good. It's been a good week in that sense.
That's awesome. It wasn't that long ago that you were, just starting out and feeling like not quite confident. So it's really cool to hear that you're like teaching and like you've got, I'm sure that you still are learning things, but like, it's a cool place to be in. Like,
yeah. And I mean, to be clear, he was not my student, but when he can't be in the back of the truck alone. So when it was my patient, I was back there, but he was leading it. And you keep a watchful eye and be there to answer any questions. So, but yeah, it was nice.
If you've got any joys, any green flags for men, then please send those to us. We want some good things.
Give us some good stuff.
Give us the good stuff.
Give us the good stuff.
Thanks for joining us. New podcasts every Wednesday. And if any part of this show has resonated with you, let us know at outsidethemanosphere@gmail.com, Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube. Please like, rate, subscribe to the podcast YouTube channel, or recommend us to a friend. Hasta la pasta.
Mission accomplished.